Hey there, English learners. Welcome back to the English Chat Lab, your favorite place to improve your English while talking about real-life topics that actually matter.
That's right. I'm Max.
And I'm Lena. Today, we're talking about something I know a lot of you will relate to, dining out in English. I think you have watched part 1 of this title. If you didn't watch it from the above link what displaying on screen and come there. We're moving on to Chapter 5, Placing Your Order. Max, this is such an important topic because once you've read the menu and decided what you want, it's time to actually order. And that's where these phrases come in handy.
Absolutely, Lena. Placing your order is the moment when all your preparation pays off. It's your chance to confidently tell the waiter or cashier what you'd like to eat. So, let's dive into some useful phrases.
Yes, let's start with the basics. The most common phrase to use when ordering is, I'd like the. For example, I'd like the grilled chicken, please, or I'd like the vegetarian pasta.
Yes, and another simple phrase is, can I have the ... For example, can I have the Caesar salad, please? Or can I have the chocolate cake for dessert?
Yes, and if you're ordering drinks, you can say, I'll have the. For example, I'll have a cappuccino, please, or I'll have a glass of red wine.
Yes, and here's a pro tip. Always say please when ordering. It's polite and makes the interaction more pleasant for everyone.
Yes. Now, let's talk about customizing your order. Sometimes you might want to make a few changes to a dish, like leaving out an ingredient or adding something extra. Max, what are some phrases you can use for that?
Great question. If you want to leave something out, you can say, can I get that without ... For example, can I get that without onions, or can I get that without cheese?
Yes. And if you want to add something, you can say, can I add? For example, can I add extra cheese? Or can I add a side of fries?
Yes, and if you're not sure if a customization is possible, you can ask, is it possible to? For example, is it possible to make this dish spicy? Or is it possible to substitute the fries for a salad?
Yes. And here's a reframe. Instead of feeling like you're being difficult, remember that most restaurants are happy to accommodate reasonable requests. The key is to be polite and clear.
Exactly, and to make this even more practical, let's do a quick role-play conversation. Lena, you'll be the customer, and I'll be the waiter. Ready?
Ready. Hi there. Are you ready to order?
Yes, please. I'd like the grilled salmon, but can I get that without the butter sauce? Of course. Would you like to substitute another sauce or just have it plain?
Just plain is fine, thank you. And can I add a side of steamed vegetables? Absolutely. Anything else?
Yes, I'll have a glass of white wine, please. Great choice. I'll get that started for you. Thank you.
See how easy that was. By using clear and polite phrases, you can customize your order and get exactly what you want.
Yes, and here's a pro tip. If you're nervous about speaking, practice these phrases at home before you go to the restaurant. The more you practice, the more confident you'll feel.
Yes. So, to wrap up Chapter 5, here's the big takeaway. Placing your order is all about being clear, polite, and confident. Use phrases like, I'd like the, or can I have the? And don't be afraid to customize your order with phrases like, can I get that without? Or can I add?
Yes, and remember, the more you practice, the easier it will become. So, next time you're at a restaurant, give it a try.
Up next, we're diving into dealing with issues or special requests. We'll share tips for handling mistakes, making special requests, and resolving issues confidently. Stay tuned. We're moving on to Chapter 6, Dealing with Issues or Special Requests. Max, this is such an important topic because, let's face it, sometimes things don't go as planned when dining out. Maybe your order is wrong, or you need to make a special request. Knowing how to handle these situations confidently can make all the difference.
Absolutely, Lena. Whether it's resolving an issue or making a special request, the key is to stay calm, polite, and clear. So, let's dive into some useful phrases and strategies.
Yes, let's start with handling mistakes or issues. Max, what are some phrases you can use if your order is wrong or if there's a problem?
Great question. If your order is wrong, you can say, I didn't order this, or this isn't what I asked for. For example, excuse me, I didn't order the chicken. I ordered the fish.
Yes. And if there's an issue with your food, like it's undercooked or cold, you can say, this is undercooked, or this is cold. Can you please heat it up?
Yes, and here's a pro tip. Always start with excuse me or I'm sorry to bother you to get the waiter's attention politely. For example, excuse me, this isn't what I ordered. Can you please check?
Yes. And if you're not sure how to explain the issue, you can say, there's a problem with my order. Can you help me? Most waiters will be happy to assist you.
Exactly, and here's a refrain. Instead of feeling like you're being difficult, remember that it's your right to get what you ordered. Most restaurants want to make sure you're happy with your meal.
Yes. Now, let's talk about making special requests. Max, what are some common phrases you can use for this?
Great question. If you want to take your food to go, you can say, can I get this to go? Or can you pack this up for me?
Yes. And if you're dining with friends and want to split the bill, you can say, can we split the bill? Or can we have separate checks?
Yes, and if you need something extra, like more napkins or utensils, you can say, can I have some extra napkins, please? Or can I get another fork?
Yes. And here's a pro tip. If you're not sure if a special request is possible, you can ask, is it possible to? For example, is it possible to split the dessert? Or is it possible to get a smaller portion?
Yes, and to make this even more practical, let's do a quick role-play conversation. Lena, you'll be the customer, and I'll be the waiter. Ready?
Ready.
Hi there. How is everything?
Actually, there's a problem with my order. I didn't order the steak. I ordered the salmon.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Let me check with the kitchen and get that fixed for you right away.
Thank you. And while you're at it, can I get this to go? I need to leave soon.
Of course, I'll pack it up for you as soon as it's ready. Anything else I can help you with?
Yes. Can we split the bill? My friend and I are paying separately.
No problem at all. I'll bring you separate checks. Thank you for letting me know.
See how easy that was. By staying polite and clear, you can resolve issues and make special requests without stress.
Yes, and here's a pro tip. If you're nervous about speaking, practice these phrases at home before you go to the restaurant. The more you practice, the more confident you'll feel.
Yes. So, to wrap up Chapter 6, here's the big takeaway. Dealing with issues or special requests is all about staying calm, polite, and clear. Use phrases like, I didn't order this. Can I get this to go? Or can we split the bill? And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes, and remember, most restaurants want to make sure you have a great experience. The key is to communicate your needs clearly and confidently.
Up next, we're diving into paying the bill and tipping. We'll share tips for handling the bill, understanding tipping culture, and ending your meal on a positive note. Stay tuned. We're moving on to Chapter 7, Paying the Bill and Tipping. Max, this is such an important topic because, after enjoying a delicious meal, it's time to handle the bill and show your appreciation for the service. And knowing how to do this confidently in English can make the experience smooth and stress-free.
Absolutely, Lena, paying the bill and tipping are key parts of dining out, especially in English-speaking countries where tipping culture is common. So, let's dive into some useful phrases and tips.
Yes, let's start with asking for the bill. Max, what are some phrases you can use to request the bill politely?
Great question. The most common phrase is, can we get the check, please? Or can I have the bill, please? For example, excuse me, can we get the check, please?
Yes, and if you're in a hurry, you can say, can we pay now? Or can you bring the bill when you have a moment?
Yes, and if you're paying by card, you can ask, can I pay by card? Or do you take credit cards? Most restaurants do, but it's always good to double check.
Yes, and here's a pro tip. If you're splitting the bill, you can say, can we split the bill? Or can we have separate checks? This lets the waiter know you're paying individually.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about tipping culture. Tipping is a big part of dining out in many English-speaking countries like the United States, Canada, and the UK. Lena, what do listeners need to know about tipping?
Yes, in countries like the United States, tipping is expected and is usually around 15–20 of the total bill. This is because servers often rely on tips as a significant part of their income.
Yes, and in the UK, tipping is also common, but it's usually around 10 to 15%. Sometimes a service charge is already included in the bill, so it's always good to check before adding an extra tip.
Yes, and here's a pro tip. If you're not sure how much to tip, you can ask, "Is the tip included?" Or "What's the usual tip here?" Most waiters will be happy to guide you.
Yes, and if you're paying by card, you can add the tip directly to the card payment. Just say, "Can you add a 20% tip, please?" Or "I'd like to leave a tip on the card."
Yes, and if you're paying in cash, you can leave the tip on the table or hand it directly to the waiter. A simple "thank you" goes a long way.
Exactly, and to make this even more practical, let's do a quick role-play conversation. Lena, you'll be the customer, and I'll be the waiter. Ready?
Ready.
Hi there. How was everything?
It was great, thank you. Can we get the check, please?
Of course. Here's your bill. Would you like to pay by card or cash?
I'll pay by card. Can you add a 20% tip, please?
Absolutely. I'll bring the card machine right over. Thank you so much.
See how easy that was. By using clear and polite phrases, you can handle the bill and tipping process smoothly.
Yes, and here's a pro tip. If you're not sure about the tipping culture in a specific country, do a quick search before you go. It's always better to be prepared.
Yes. So, to wrap up Chapter 7, here's the big takeaway. Paying the bill and tipping are important parts of dining out. Use phrases like, "Can we get the check, please?" Or "Can I pay by card?" And don't forget to tip appropriately based on the local culture.
Yes, and remember, tipping is a way to show appreciation for good service. A little kindness goes a long way.
Up next, we're diving into listener stories and tips. We'll share inspiring stories and creative strategies from our listeners about their dining out experiences. Stay tuned. We're moving on to Chapter 8, Listener Stories and Tips. Max, I'm so excited for this one because we've received some amazing stories and ideas from our listeners about their dining out experiences. It's always so inspiring to hear how people are navigating restaurants and ordering food confidently in English.
Absolutely, Lena. I love how creative and unique some of these strategies are. It just goes to show that there's no one right way to order food. It's all about finding what works for you.
Yes, so let's dive in. First up, we have a story from Maria in Mexico. Maria shared that she used to feel nervous about ordering in English, so she started practicing by role-playing with her friends. They would take turns being the waiter and the customer, and it helped her feel more confident when she dined out in real life.
That's such a great idea. Role-playing is such a safe and effective way to practice. Thanks for sharing, Maria.
Next, we have a tip from Ahmed in Egypt. Ahmed shared that he always looks up the menu online before going to a restaurant. He says it helps him practice the vocabulary and decide what he wants to order ahead of time, so he feels more prepared.
That's such a smart strategy. Being prepared can make a huge difference. Thanks for sharing, Ahmed.
Now, let's hear from Sophie in France. Sophie shared that she practices ordering food by watching YouTube videos of people dining out in English. She pauses the video and repeats the phrases, which helps her feel more confident when it's her turn to order.
I love that. YouTube is such a great resource for learning real-life English. Thanks for sharing, Sophie.
Next up, we have a story from Carlos in Brazil. Carlos shared that he started small by ordering coffee or snacks in English at cafes. Once he felt comfortable with that, he moved on to full meals at restaurants. He says it's all about taking small steps and building confidence gradually.
That's such a great example of how small, consistent actions can lead to big results. Thanks for sharing, Carlos.
Now, let's hear from Priya in India. Priya shared that she uses a translation app to help her with unfamiliar words on the menu. She says it's a great way to learn new vocabulary and feel more confident ordering.
That's such a smart idea. Technology can be such a helpful tool for language learners. Thanks for sharing, Priya.
Finally, we have a tip from Liam in Australia. Liam shared that he always smiles and makes eye contact when ordering. He says it helps him feel more confident and creates a positive interaction with the waiter.
That's such a great tip. A little kindness and confidence can go a long way. Thanks for sharing, Liam.
These stories and tips are so inspiring, Max. It's amazing to see how creative and intentional people are with their dining out experiences. And it's a great reminder that there's no one-size-fits-all approach. It's all about finding what works for you.
Absolutely. And if you're listening and have a story or tip you'd like to share, we'd love to hear from you. Send us a message or leave a comment, and we might feature you in a future episode.
Yes, we're all in this together, and hearing from our listeners is one of the best parts of doing this podcast. So, keep sharing your ideas and inspiring each other.
Well said. So, to wrap up Chapter 8, here's the big takeaway. Ordering food confidently is as unique as the people who do it. Whether it's role-playing with friends, practicing with YouTube videos, or using a translation app, the key is to find what makes you feel good and stick with it.
And remember, it's okay to experiment and adjust as you go. Your dining out journey should work for you, not the other way around.
Up next, we're diving into our final chapter, wrap-up and key takeaways. We'll recap everything we've covered and share some final thoughts on how to dine out like a pro. Stay tuned.
We've made it to our final chapter, wrap up and key takeaways. Max, I can't believe we're already at the end of this episode. We've covered so much ground, from reading menus and asking for recommendations to handling dietary restrictions and paying the bill.
I know, Lena, it's been such a fun and insightful conversation. And I think the best way to wrap it up is to recap some of the most important points we've covered. So, let's do a quick summary for our listeners.
Yes, let's start with Chapter 1, Introduction to Dining Out in English. We talked about why dining out is such a great opportunity to practice English and learn about local culture.
Exactly, and in Chapter 2, How to Read a Menu Like a Pro, we explored how to understand menu sections, decode tricky terms, and make the best choices for your meal.
Yes, then in Chapter 3, Asking for Recommendations, we shared phrases like, "What do you recommend?" and "What's the special of the day?" to help you discover delicious dishes.
And in Chapter 4, Handling Dietary Restrictions and Allergies, we talked about how to communicate your needs clearly with phrases like "I'm vegetarian" or "I have a nut allergy."
Yes, then in Chapter 5, Placing Your Order, we covered phrases like "I'd like the" and "Can I get that without?" to help you order confidently and customize your meal.
And in Chapter 6, Dealing with Issues or Special Requests, we shared tips for handling mistakes, making special requests, and resolving issues politely.
Yes, then in Chapter 7, Paying the Bill and Tipping, we talked about how to ask for the bill, understand tipping culture, and end your meal on a positive note.
And in Chapter 8, Listener Stories and Tips, we heard from some of our amazing listeners about their unique and creative strategies for ordering food confidently. It was so inspiring to see how people are making progress and overcoming challenges.
Yes, so what's the big takeaway from all of this? I think it's that dining out in English doesn't have to be stressful or overwhelming. With a little preparation and practice, you can order food like a pro and enjoy every bite.
Exactly, and the key is to start small and stay consistent. Whether it's practicing phrases at home, role-playing with friends, or just ordering coffee in English, every small step brings you closer to confidence.
Yes, and don't forget to celebrate your progress. Every time you order in English, no matter how small, give yourself credit. You're building skills that will help you in so many areas of your life.
Well said. So, to wrap up Chapter 9, here's the big takeaway. Dining out in English is a skill you can build step by step. Use the phrases and tips we've shared, practice regularly, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every experience is a chance to learn and grow.
Yes. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're here to support you every step of the way.
And before we go, we want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in and sharing their stories and tips. Your experiences and ideas make this podcast so special.
Yes. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It helps us reach more listeners and continue creating content you love.
And stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll dive into mastering small talk in English. We'll share tips for starting and maintaining conversations so you can feel confident in any social situation. You won't want to miss it.
Yes. Thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time, keep practicing your dining out skills and enjoying delicious meals. You've got this.
Bye, everyone.